What's going on, guys? Chuck here with a bunch of awesome Blu-ray purchases. But this is basically not focused on any one particular film or set. Um, just here in the last couple months, I've been on a tear. Just picking up a lot of random movies. Not really random. Some cases, you've been on a kick for something, and you start picking up a bunch of these particular kinds of titles, or there's been a lot of sales going on. Some cases, I'm in the process of trying to replace a lot of stuff I have on my shelf that are DVDs and kind of upgrade them to Blu-ray or higher if possible. And some are just pre-sales, or not really pre-sales, but pre-orders that I guess pre-sale, pre-order, same thing. But not when you see here pre-order, you think it's something major, you know. But a lot of times it is simplistic titles. Hey, they're coming out. I'm gonna order them when they come out. So I just thought I'd run through these with you real quick. There's a lot here. It may not be too quick, but just to show you what I've got, just to keep you updated. So let's get started right away. And these first two are brand new movies. I mean, they just come out recently. So, and I just picked them up. And the first one, probably the most recent I just got, is Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. Of course, it's the 4K Blu-ray. So, I got to see this in the drive-in. I actually enjoyed this a lot. I don't know everybody else's take on Guardians. That was still a lot of fun. Nice wrap-up in the trilogy, but enjoyable. Next up, Scream 6. I just watched this last night. This was really good. I've really enjoyed the last two Scream movies, which actually it's cool because it makes me want to go back and rewatch Scream as a series. Because I haven't seen those movies in a long time. I actually saw the original Scream a couple years ago. The drive-in had showed it again, and I watched it. And it was the first time I saw it in years. I'm like, oh yeah, this is. I forgot how good the original Scream really is. I don't remember anything from Screams 2, 3, and 4, honestly. So, and I do have them. So I need to sit back and watch those again. But I really liked what they did with Scream, or AKA Scream 5, and Scream 6. I like the new characters, how they tie in. The kills. This one are pretty grisly in some cases, but good. I really liked it. So I again makes me want to go back and rewatch this series. So I'm looking forward. I'm assuming there'll be a Scream 7. And before I was like, okay, whatever. Now I'm actually looking forward to seeing what else they come up with for this. So this next batch are stuff I just bought recently to upgrades. So let's start off with I got Arrows Eaten Alive from Toby Hooper. I had the DVD of this. So this is the Arrow set. I've been wanting to get this for the longest time, and I just kept him and Han. Finally, I said, you know what, just get it. So I finally picked it up. Obviously, this is without slipcover, so it's out. It's still available, but not right away. But I got it. So that's that. Next up, the 4K of Speed. This I had an old Fox DVD, kind of a bigger. I don't know what the Fox did a lot of these DVDs, were like big 2-disc sets, I think, but they were in the big thick cases. Like early on, really early in the collector series, something like that. But I realized I needed to get a movie like Speed in very best quality as possible on Blu-ray. So there's that. Along with that, same kind of along the same lines, Independence Day, the original. This is a movie I tend to watch every 4th of July. This and Jaws, for obvious reasons. And this past 4th of July, I watched my old collector series Fox DVD Independence Day up on the projection big screen. And while it wasn't bad, I'm thinking this again I could do so much better. And why do I still have this on DVD? And I got the 4K cheap, so next 4th of July will be pretty rocking. Again, along those same lines, one of my movie I really enjoy is Apollo 13, and I have it on a very nice DVD. But again, that DVD is old. It's one of the first ones that came out. It actually is like the IMAX version of it. I don't like that version though because it's edited. There's a lot of scenes cut out from the IMAX version, which is disappointing. I mean, it's obviously blown up for me. They cut out particular scenes, which I don't know why they would do that. But so yeah, I got Apollo 13 and 4K. So again, it should be really nice. when I pop this in a player with sound and a big image. I'm looking forward to checking this one out. One of this came in recently. Oops. The 4K of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Classic 80s John Hughes, Matthew Broderick. Great movie. Again, I had an old DVD. So, why not bump it up to 4K once it's available? Next up, two of my favorites. And this was kind of just brought to my attention recently because one of these films I'm actually seeing tonight at the Historic Artcraft Theater here in Franklin, Indiana. They're an old 100. I've talked about it before. I've shown them on this channel. Me and Chris going to see From Russia with Love there. But it's a great theater. They're actually showing my favorite Eddie Murphy film of all time, Beverly Hills Cop. So it got me thinking. I have this series on DVD, and I love the whole. The first two the best, but they're all okay. But I love this movie so much, and I got me thinking I need to get these on, upgraded from the DVDs I have. And lo and behold, 1 and 2 are both on 4K. 3 not so much, but that's okay. These two are. I actually kind of like 2, probably a little more than 1, even though I could say Beverly Scott's my favorite Eddie Murphy film. So it kind of go back. It's really like 1A, 1B with these cases. But I love the character of Axel Foley. I think part of it is, as a kid, is my, his ties to Detroit or make me a little biased. But I really think this is Eddie Murphy at his best. Really, this is his best character. I think he really just captures the fun of Axel Foley, which was missing in Beverly Hills Cop 3. And I know they keep talking about making a 4th one, possibly for Netflix. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I was really glad to get these two because, again, I love these movies. And the last upgrade, and it was a recent release film, which is the 4K 40th anniversary of Jaws 2. Just recently, Chris and I went to Artcraft and saw Jaws. And of course, that was a lot of fun and one of my all-time favorite movies. And I was glad to see that they got Jaws 2 in 4K. I do have the Jaws 4K as well, so this is really nice. Makes you wonder if they'll do Jaws 3 and Jaws 4. Probably not. Which is fine. I do have the Blu-ray Jaws 3D, so that's really all I need. I don't need to see it in 4K. I don't know if this will make it look any better, quite honestly. Okay, so there's that. Next, there's a bunch of stuff I just bought for sales or whatever the case may be. Starting off a new release from Kino Lorber, Stephen King's Needful Things, a 4K edition. And this is really nice. I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I remember, really being intrigued with it. I've got to read the novel. I do have the novel. I have most of Stephen King's novels, at least his older ones. It's been a few years since I picked up any new ones, but I know he's got Ed Harris, Max von Sydow, Bonnie Bedelia, a lot of other great characters, but this is fascinating. When I say fascinating, it was very interesting, a lot of fun. From what I remember seeing, and I was like, I saw this, I had to pick it up right away. So Stephen King's Needful Things from Kino Lorber. Next up, an 80s, I don't want to say classic, maybe cult classic, but it's one I remember from my childhood so prominently. Not that I saw it when I was a kid, because honestly I didn't see it until, honestly, in my adulthood. And be perfectly honest, I probably saw it the first time on Riff Tracks. And that is, of course, Megaforce. This is from Umbrella Entertainment. What I remember is this ad was in the back of every comic book in the 1980s, or 1980, 81, 82, whatever it was. And I have so many of those comic books that have this ad. And it was very prominent. The marketing was out there, but I know it just bombed terribly. I think someone on Facebook we talked about it mentioned it was like a knockoff G.I. Joe. More or less, yeah. This is G.I. Joe. This is probably, and some people will probably argue this is a better G.I. Joe movie than G.I. Joe. I don't know, but and it's got Barry Bostwick in there, so that's great. Henry Silva, Persis Kambata, yeah, it was fun, a lot of fun. Next up, The Who's Tommy, one I've not seen. I know so much about. For obvious reasons. Just recently, a podcast list to the Grindman podcast. They actually covered Tommy, and it made me actually listen to it. And, you know what? I think I want to check that out. Um, I don't know why I hadn't before, honestly, because I'm into crazy rock opera musicals and whatnot. So this right my alley. Why did I pick it up? So I looked it up, got it, fairly good price, cheap actually, on Amazon. So I'm glad I picked up and looking forward to checking that one out. Next up, some TV terror, the Karen Black and Trilogy of Terror from Kino Lorber. So this is again probably the most popular, uh, one of the most popular television horror films, I guess you want to call it. It's probably right there with Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, as far as what people remember. But honestly, I think Dark Knight of the Scarecrow is more prominent as a whole, whereas Trilogy of Terror is probably actually no, it's only remembered for the last segment with the doll. Other than that, people will forget the first two stories in here. But that last story does make up for it. When it's a good thing it is last, because it was the first one, it really would have been come to a dead stop. Because those other ones are kind of a slow burn. They're not bad, but you feel like being on TV. If it wasn't on TV, those two could have been done a little more. If it's like maybe HBO or something like that. But again, it's like 1970 something, I think, when it came out. So that's not going to happen. But that last one is really great, and it really picks up the whole. It's really carrying the whole movie, honestly. That last segment, but a lot of fun. For silliness from Arrow, John Landis' Schlock. Why? I don't know. I just I love stupid movies sometimes, and I know knowing the history of this being John Landis' first film, and he worked with Rick Baker, and working together on this was kind of a starting point, if you will, to them working on later on An American Werewolf in London, which is my favorite horror film ever. So it's kind of interesting to go back and see those humble beginnings, and it's a fun movie. It's schlock, but it's got a fun. I mean, and you have was it John Landis in the actual suit, and I think what he does in that suit is actually pretty entertaining. It's a lot of fun for not having any dialogue. His actions are really great when bring a lot of humor to the movie, but it's ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. Next up, this is one I got from Scream Factory. Don't know much about it, but I know it was a film that's, from what I've read, kind of been out of print, hard to find, or it's 80s VHS classic, and that's School Spirit. And they had like a limited run. They just announced out of nowhere, and I thought, what the heck, I'll pick it up, because I am a big fan of 80s films, whether they're slasher, and slasher teen sex comedies. I enjoy that because that was the apex decade for those kind of films. Was the 80s, and as a child of the 80s, I love stuff like this. So, and on that note, I also got Private School, with little Phoebe Cates action. One I think I may have seen bits and pieces of as a kid, but never seen the whole thing. So I know I haven't seen the whole movie. I know some parts of it. So I think it's also has Betsy Russell from Avenging Angel and Tomboy. So I believe she was it this one. I think she's known for having this topless horse riding scene. I think it's this movie, or it could be another 80s sex comedy movie. There's so many of them. So there it is, Private School. Next up was talk about nuts, and another movie I've heard a lot about and heard it's how crazy and wild and ridiculous it is. And when I hear stuff like that, it just piques my curiosity and my interest, and I just gotta seek it out and find it. And that is Lady Terminator, the only DVD in this bunch, because I haven't seen a Blu-ray for it. This is DVD from was it Mondo Macabra? That what it is? Yeah, Mondo Macabra, and I actually got this from Diabolic. So yeah, and I actually watched this last night. This is fun. Ridiculous, crazy. Obviously, it's I love credits like original story by James Cameron. This is Terminator. Obviously, it's in the title, but so much is like just wow. Um, but again, it's not it's not boring. It's fun all the way through. It's yeah, it is what it is. It's it's got TNA, it's got action, blood and guts, something more could you ask. It's a lot of fun. Another one is here, Arrow. Oh, I think it's like a '90s slasher flick that I didn't really hear of. I don't know of, and that's Lover's Lane. Yeah, because this is, let's see who was in this movie. I can't remember, but I believe this was a '90s film, '90s slasher. Um, and I just again, it's a slasher film. I think that's the only reason why I picked it up because I do like slasher. I realize this was fairly recent. So I don't know a whole lot about this, but it looks like it's kind of based on some urban legends. Obviously, you got the Lover's Lane, the guy with the hook. That's a popular urban legend. So I have to check this one out. But this was a nice presentation. I think this has, yeah, here's your alternate artwork because it's pretty cool. And I want to say that Anna Faris was, like I said, like an early appearance of Anna Faris, I think, was in this, or somebody. I remember seeing somewhere in there about that. So, other one I picked up in our slasher, this was 81 Death Screams. This was one they released in their special editions sometime back, but they still had a couple, left with the slipcover. So I went ahead and grabbed one again. Yeah, I know it's not excellent, not great, but again, it's an 80s slasher kind of thing. I love getting those and checking them out, seeing what's what, because there's so many of them out there. A lot of good, a lot of bad. But I love finding them, checking them out myself. So I'm looking forward to find some time and put, maybe I'll do Lover's Lane and Death Screams together. Next up, I have a couple of found footage movies. I'll start off with UFO Abduction, aka the McPherson tape. Of course, this is known as it's really, people consider it like one of the first found footage. I mean, truly found footage movie. A lot of people talk about like Cannibal Holocaust, but forget that's a regular film that has found footage. And let's again like call that, where this is basically just a little girl's was a birthday party, and it was this family recording it, and they come across aliens, and for the longest time, a lot of people thought this was the real deal. So it's kind of like Blair Witch before Blair Witch. It's the predecessor to Blair Witch, if you will. It's only like an hour long. It's very interesting. It's a lot of fun. It's shot on video. I think the performers do a good job of just making it feel very real for that time period, and get shot on camcorder style. Nothing really feels forced or faked, and that's the hard thing about a found footage film is how do you make it seem real. I think they do a good job pulling this off, and the performances are good for what they are. For those who don't, here is the actual cover, the McPherson tape cover, and this was from Vinegar Syndrome. Next was from Scream Factory. Another found footage. There are a whole bunch of found footage films out there. I've scoured the streaming services a lot of times and found them, and most of them are like ridiculous, but there were like two that I found that really stuck with me. It really made an impact, if you will. One of them was the Poughkeepsie tapes. I know this one has a history of its releases. It was supposed to have been released at one point, and then it got pulled back. It was released years after the fact, whatever the case may be. I found this on YouTube, actually. I watched it on YouTube. And I'm being very disturbed by it. It's done very well. It really, there's some parts, I guess, where you look at it's kind of, cheesy for documentary, style, but a lot of points, I think it's played very well, too. But, there's just creepy factors in it. It's kind of like, ugh. and imagining if this was real. So I think it's done well, but I think it's very effective for what it is. A lot of people go either way. They really like it, they really hate it. I mean, down the middle. I enjoyed it. I think it's one of the better found footage films available, the creepier ones. And on that note, one that really stuck with me, I found this on Netflix for a short time, and that is Megan is Missing. This one is very disturbing, and very creepy, and it will stick with you. I mean, it's especially, I think, watching it as a parent, it is really creepy and disturbing. And the end of it is really the part that will stick with you the most. I mean, the whole film has got a very, after you watch it, you really got to take a bath, take a shower, wash it off. You got to wash this movie. Got to wash off of you. I mean, really got to scrub hard. You got to have one of those Silkwood showers after you watch this movie. But it's effective. Some of the acting is hit or miss, mostly miss, but the tone is there, the quote unquote message is there, and the overall ick factor is there. So it does its job, if you will, and again, this is definitely one of the top tier, in my opinion, of the found footage movies. At least the ones that will stick with. Maybe not as far as production wise or as far as quality, but I really think it's one that it does stick with you, for better or for worse. And last of these bits, this was one I just picked up because I heard so much about it, and I just went out to see if I could actually find it, and it was Jaws 5, aka Cruel Jaws, the out of print Severin release, and you see I actually got this off eBay, brand new, with a slipcover, which I know it's for a very, very reasonable price. Nothing you think a lot of these would be jacked up really high because of what happened with these. I think Severin had announced these, they were going to release them, and then they had to withdraw them really quickly. I think I don't know what the full story was. I think there was a lot of speculation as to why that was. I'm assuming it was Universal that said, "Oh, I don't think so." And basically, once Severin did away with what they had, that was it. And I think there's some other stories tied in there. They were going to release Drop Dead Fred. They announced it, but then when this happened, they canceled it, and you saw Vinegar Syndrome later on pick up the release of Drop Dead Fred. And I think, and there's been some speculation that this is all tied together somehow. But Jaws 5. What can I say? Which, if you don't know, this is just crazy. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You wonder how you watch this. You wonder how you can see why Universal said no. Clearly, they probably got sued by George Lucas too, for a number of reasons. But there's so much in here. It's just clearly, it's just used. You have footage from Jaws, footage from the Last Shark, aka Great White, musical cues from Star Wars in here. Some rip-offs of John Williams' score. There's it's all in here. And they push together, put a movie out, and Cruel Jaws. That's the answer. That's what you get. What's nice on here is actually a little half-hour feature on here about shark exploitation, which is kind of interesting. But besides, if you want a good documentary on shark exploitation, I believe Shudder has one. I think I know Shudder has. I just watched it recently. I believe it's just called Shark Exploitation, but it's a very good documentary on the history of shark exploitation. So yeah, Jaws 5. Now, this last bunch is something I kind of went on a recent kick, as I mentioned, I think in a couple videos back, and that is in 3D. I started buying a bunch of 3D Blu-rays so I could utilize the 3D more on the projector I have. Because like I said, I was really impressed when I watched that House of Wax Blu-ray 3D. I mean, I said before, I have Blu-ray 3D. I had it on my TV, and it was good. But seeing it on a bigger screen, and I think with the projector, the 3D just really popped even more so, which made me really want to go out and hunt down and search some Blu-ray more Blu-ray 3Ds than what I have. Specifically, movies that were shot in 3D, not necessarily like your newer releases where they were shown flat and then they just converted to a 3D for extra tickets, but movies that were specifically 3D. And so here's what I picked up. Got Metal Storm 3D. This release from Shout Factory. Nice 80s sci-fi, and these are the 80s 3D is always good because that's the ones that are going to jump right at. They're purposely going to jump at your face. That's what they did. That's what they do. And let's see, I got this Dynasty in Super 3D, wherever that is. I think it's like a martial arts kind of thing. This was Kino Lorber, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, it was in quadraphonic sound. So that should be a lot of fun. And I went for the smutty side, and I got the Stewardesses in 3D. Because you need more TNA in 3D. And this is nice because this has actually a little feature, like a little short called "Experiment in Love," which is it's a softcore. Well, they're both softcore. It's a softcore film that actually has porn stars in it. But it's shot in 3D, and they're using the gimmick up because they're throwing stuff at the screen and everything, and it looks pretty impressive, honestly. So yeah, you always need more smut in 3D. I think that should be we need more of that. Now some classics. I got It Came from Outer Space. Nice, sci-fi classic, I think from the 50s. Those was like a lot. I always like finding these kind of films, because I know it was a big, well, not really a big boom, but it was a popular boom around that time, after House of Wax. So there's a couple of these titles that were released, these old sci-fi movies that were released in 3D. So I try and find as many of those as I can. I do have, the Creature from Black Lagoon and was it Revenge of the Creature? I think the second one that came in that Universal box set I have. Those one of the reasons why I bought that box set was to get those movies in 3D. So It Came from Outer Space. And last of this whole big bundle is a classic I saw. I remember specifically on TV as a kid, on local TV, and it was heavily promoted to go to your local convenience stores. I don't remember what Stop and Go, I think what they were called when I was a kid in Michigan, to pick up your 3D glasses to watch this feature when it came on whatever channel on a particular night. It was a big event. That's again back when TV viewing was an event. We had a show come out, everybody knew about it. We were going to gather on TV on this particular night and watch this movie, and it was The Mask. You had to go to the store and get your 3D glasses to watch The Mask on TV. And I don't remember much about it, other than when the person whenever they put the mask on, you had to put on your glasses, and that's when you would get the 3D effect. So I saw this was who was this? This is Kino. This is a Kino also, Kino Lorber. I had to get this for nostalgia's sake, and to really because I also on TV it was the old the blue and red 3D glasses, which are never good to watch 3D with. Those are just horrible. You cannot watch good 3D on. It's good for looking at a picture, a comic book. I have said before, watching a movie with those glasses is just terrible. So, get to see this in real 3D. It should be a lot of fun. But case in point is why you go back to a movie like Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. I saw that in the theater with 3D glasses, and it's the same thing. It's the scene when they put on the 3D glasses. You put on your 3D glasses, and they were the red and blue, and it was the 3D was again because the color changes are too much because if you watch it, at least for me, and I have an astigmatism, so it's bad anyways, but you get red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, and you're trying to get image. It's hard to focus on the images coming at you. Whereas with the regular 3D or the real 3D or the polarized or whatever it is, the color stays the same. All you're focusing on is the depth. So this should be a lot of fun to watch in that real 3D, along with the rest of those films. Okay, so that is it for this huge haul. It's been built up for a while. I know this is a little long, but thank you for sticking around for it. Um, so yeah, that is everything I've been picking up that I'm not, putting on the channel every time I get this kind of these little miscellaneous stuff. Um, but this is, and I have a lot more to go. I have, I have a whole bunch of stuff pre-ordered. Probably taking me out to about November. I'm still waiting for, every day new releases are popping up. Oh, I get that, here, Arrow, Scream Factory, Severin, all these places, they've all put out like their October releases. So I've already pre-ordered. There's some big stuff there. I know big one like Arrow had released that big Psycho box set, and also they just announced their Hellraiser box set, a new Hellraiser box set 4K. So yeah, that's done. I have a bunch of stuff coming from Vinegar Syndrome. It's actually shipped out, a huge order when they had their big sale. I don't know if it was the halfway to Black Friday, was their summer sale, something or other. There's stuff from Severin I've got for October pre-ordered, and the Scream Factory just announced a Night of the Demons 4K along with Night of Demons 2 and 3. So yeah, my wallet is becoming anorexic. I wish I was. No, that's not true. I wish I was anorexic. I wish I was thinner. I wish I could be as thin as my wallet's becoming. But anyway, enough about that. If you enjoy this, click thumbs up, share, subscribe. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you picked up anything new, if you have any of these titles, if you want any of these titles, if you're looking for some of these, your thoughts. Or just say hi. I'll always take hi. Until next time, this is Chuck saying I will see you on the other side.